If I were to ask you, what are the top quarterback rooms in college football this upcoming year? Just like rattle them off the top of your head. Where would you go? Because someone asked me that at the gym. So I said, Jesse, throw it into the show. Let's talk about it. Texas has got to be up there. Okay, Quinn Ewers. And a little side conversation about this is, how good is Quinn Ewers? It's NFL draft time and combine time right now. A year from now, he'll be under a whole lot of scrutiny. But I think we can get ahead of the curve there. But anyway, that's for another day. You got Quinn Ewers there. A lot of experience now. Arch Manning is the heir apparent. Trey Owens is a four-star kid they just signed. He won't figure into things this year, but we're talking about depth of the quarterback room, so that matters. I trust Steve Sarkisian implicitly as a play caller and developer at the quarterback position, even without Malik Murphy, who transferred out of there to Duke. This right here is one of the best quarterback rooms in college football. Oregon, hold on, keep that up for a second there, Colin, because Quinn Ewers, I was asking that question about him. 300 or more passing yards in 6 games last year. Yet he was surrounded with weaponry and, again, one of the very best play callers in college football, in my opinion. And my question is, how do you think about him? We're in this world now where you're either elite or you're trash. Quinn Ewers is neither of those. I look at him as a pretty good college quarterback, with the ceiling probably a little bit higher than what he's reached so far. That's okay. Like, God gives you 3 or 4 years to play this sport for a reason, as Meemaw used to say. What's reasonable to expect? A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Whittington, Jatavian Sanders are all out the door this year. They got to hope that they hit big time in the portal. What's reasonable? Is there another notch or two up the ladder that he can climb this year? All right. Those are kind of rhetorical. Those are future-facing questions. Oregon, certainly one of the best quarterback rooms in the country is in Eugene, Oregon. Dylan Gabriel, they just added via the portal. Dante Moore, they just added via the portal. This is college football circa 2024, because this time last year we had no clue either of these guys could even point to Oregon on a map, much less actually find their way there to play. Now, Moore probably could, because he visited there and he was committed there at one point, but you get what I mean. Dylan Gabriel. I don't pick fights internally here. It's just not good business. But our 24/7 Sports portal rankings had Gabriel, Jesse, what was it, as the number 12 overall quarterback. And I look at that and I just shake my head. Reasonable minds can disagree. There were not 12 better available at the position than Dylan Gabriel. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I don't think there was 1 or 2 better. I have to cover my mouth like Gus Malzahn when I say that, so they can't read my lips. Gabriel was their best option, and they went and got him. So as far as I'm concerned, they hit a home run, maybe a grand slam at Oregon. And then, for good measure, they went and got Dante Moore, who, in a rare move this day and age, serves as their next guy. So they went and got their initial guy and their next guy, both out of the portal. And Gabriel last year, over 3,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, added 12 more on the ground. I was there at the Cotton Bowl when he did what he did against Texas. So, yeah, I don't think Oregon could have done 12 guys better than Dylan Gabriel this past cycle in the portal. Let us talk about the Florida Gators for the second time tonight, but in a much different context. One of the great mysteries of last year was how bad as a team Florida ended up being, despite how good, secretly, Graham Mertz ended up being at quarterback. Because I got to give Billy Napier a lot of credit. He talked all last summer about how they evaluated the entire portal, and they looked at all the quarterbacks available, and they thought that Mertz was the best option for them. And you know what? He was right. Graham Mertz had a pretty good year last year. And now they added DJ Lagway, who is the future at the position. But in the meantime, Graham Mertz has come back. And last year, 20 touchdowns, 3 picks, was a 73% completion guy. I mean, they've got good enough talent at quarterback, both now and in the future. And it's why it's tough. I know you may view Florida football as being on life support, and a lot of people are going to have that staff on their hot seat lists, and I don't know that that's unfair. I'm just saying, when you check the quarterback box, it's tough for me to just write you off completely. Maybe that'll happen despite the quarterback position, but it's tough for me to write teams off when I like them the way I do Florida at the quarterback position. What about Ohio State? A lot of fun and exciting times ahead in Columbus. So Ryan Day goes out and he gets Will Howard out of the portal. That was the quarterback at Kansas State last year. And you know they already got Devin Brown, who was locked in that battle with Kyle McCord this time last year. Then they went and got Bama's 5-star kid in Julian Sayin, and they've got their own in Aaron Nolan. And so they've got a loaded quarterback room by depth standards. But the irony is Will Howard figures to be the starter this year, and he's not a surefire stud. Like he's not surefire, all Big Ten potential. He's shown that he's a pretty good player at the position, and certainly he won't have to shoulder the entire load. They got a dominant 1-2 in the backfield. They will have one of the best defenses in the country, so we're not looking for a guy to put up pinball numbers here. But we are looking for a guy to make the right decisions in the 3 or 4 clutch moments this year that it'll take for them to be a 10-win team versus going to the national championship. And so this is interesting. Chip Kelly has come in there as well as the offensive coordinator. It's interesting because if we were talking about overall quarterback rooms, which we are, Ohio State's way up there. But if we're talking about ranking starting quarterbacks, I don't know that they've got a top 5 guy in the country right now if it's Will Howard. But he's good enough for them to win with. So, interesting times. What about Georgia? We were down there last week. To say that Georgia has breathed a sigh of relief the size of Athens with Carson Beck choosing to return would be an understatement. I know that you know how big a deal it is for him to return, but you're still not viewing it in nearly as big a terms as they are, because this is a total game changer for them to get him to return. I think Carson Beck's the most important returning quarterback in the country this year. 4,000-yard guy last year, nearly 72% completion, 24-6 TD to INT ratio, and even after they lost Raiola, he decommitted and he goes to Nebraska. They got Ryan Puglisi, who candidly I love just as much as Raiola did, or I did Raiola. So Gunnar Stockton's there as well. They've got a really, really good quarterback room there. And also, let's not kid ourselves, much like Oregon on the West Coast, Georgia's going to be a prime destination if they do ever need to go to the portal to pick up guys at that position as well. And Alabama's got to be up here as well. So we get an offensive-minded head coach in Kalen DeBoer that comes in, who has got a track record of squeezing every ounce of potential out of every quarterback he's ever touched. And then Jalen Milroe's there, who had a good but far from perfect season last year. There's still a lot of his game that could be improved. And now that's what Kalen DeBoer inherits. But also, they got Ty Simpson still there. Dylan Lonergan is an extremely underrated guy that they talk a lot about internally, but no one else in America knows anything about yet. And then they imported Austin Mack. Austin Mack was up there with them at Washington last year, and they brought him in via transfer to Alabama. Austin Mack is, how should I describe him? He makes Jalen Milroe look pretty average size by comparison, and Milroe is a tank. Austin Mack's just a monster. And hasn't really started or anything like that, but they think he may be the future there. So I don't expect all 4 of those guys to stay at Alabama, but in the here and now, Bama's got one of the best quarterback rooms in the country as well.